or dim continue. You use your mouse to click on the gray area, or notice one's capitalized in blue. If you type that, you go to that option. Okay. Now this is going to be interactive down the road, but I just wanted to point this out, and I want you to look at it and play with it. When it comes up in the text, look at the options. I just wanted to point that out. Now, if I come out and throw a dimension on this, it's going to default to dim linear. So if I click a couple spots, and I'm going to, if you would, click them on some type of angle like this. Okay. Now, if you popped up, since I went on an angle, it went to dim align. If I would have clicked straight, it would go dim linear. Okay, so it's already getting a little interactive based on your clicking. I see this being able to soon recognize circles, recognize arcs, and switch to the appropriate tool that the geometry is. It's kind of like double-click edit does. You know, you double-click a P line and it opens P edit. You double-click text and it opens MT edit. That's where this is going to go, I'm pretty sure. So once I'm into there, now I'm pretty much set on what I'm doing. So there's dim align. It's measuring that straight line distance. If I come back into dimension and I click a horizontal spot, it's into dim linear. If I click straight up and down, it does dim linear on a horizontal, or excuse me, a vertical axis. Okay. All right, I'm going to kind of leave that unless somebody's already gotten to it and they have any questions. So for now, we really kind of want to play with it, knowing that we're going to go there eventually if we keep using this software. Your employer gives it to you, but it's not quite there yet. Now, the rest of it, I'm going to focus. The rest of chapter 17, in essence, is covered right here. As you come down through your minus these two circle ones, and I don't think dim ordinance in there either. So you got linear, align, and angular, and dim baseline, dim continue, which are the next one. So first off, let's make sure we know how to use these. So dim linear. Okay. If you click, again, on an angle, like I'm doing here. So I clicked once, I'm going to kind of drag down a little bit on some angle and click. Dim linear will give me the X or Y dimension that it's reading. Okay. So if I pull to the right, I've got the Y dimension. Pull up, it's got the X dimension. This is what it's meant for, is to give you your X and Y dimensions. Okay. And it will read which way you want to go. Okay. Make sure you can get that to happen, and you see how that works. By the way, I'm on page 489.
So just the dim command is also linear.
By default.
So,
But it will recognize if you shoot on an angle, it's going to automatically go to dim align.
so mine, when I was doing it, if I moved them for the second click, after the second click, if I moved the mouse at all, it flipped over to that style. Is that the way yours works too?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And like I said, it's really a little sporadic on how it's working at this point. Okay. All right, now what if I want, here we've got an angled surface. What's the preferred way to dimension an angled surface?
X and Y coordinates.
Give the 2 points of the triangle, right? Or you can go point and angle. Okay. Well, do I need to dimension the length of that also? Occasionally we do. We do dimension on an angle. Specifically, where it really happens for us is an auxiliary view. Okay. Because auxiliary views are rotated, right? They're inclined oblique planes. When you want the dimension of an angled line, You don't want to use dim linear, but you can. I'm going to show you both ways. What you want to do is instead of linear, use dim align. Now that will measure the straight line distance between any two clicks. Okay? So in essence, from here to here, and it lines up with it and it measures that angle. The true length of that line, I guess is really the way I should say that. Okay? One problem with this. What does it do to our extension lines? It'll bleak some. Okay? So you can't get these back. Now if I use grips and I say, you know what, I need this thing to read straight up and down. So I grab this and I take this extension line and I move it up here. What's happening to my dimensions? It changed. Because it's still measuring that straight line distance. When you get in this instance, you have to use dim linear. Okay? So this works great on inclined planes and auxiliary views, but if you want the true distance and you want it to read correctly with non-obliquing extension lines, you use dim linear. But let me just show you this little trick. And this guy, by the way, this is under dim align. I want to show you where this is at. It's on page 492. It goes with figures 17.5 and 17.6. You want to make sure you spend a little bit of time with this. I'm just going to demo it for you right here. But this will save you some editing. So I want this true line distance, but I want my extension lines coming straight up, not oblique. You use dim linear. Okay? I'll tell you what, I'm going to put the align dimension first so you can see the distance. There's 1.61. Now, how do I get my extension lines right? I use dim linear. I'm going to click here and here. Now, dim linear is only going to give me the XY, right? Well, dim linear, pay attention to all these options, has a rotated option right here. And that rotated on all other commands deals with the text. On dim linear, it deals with its measurement. Okay, it's the only one that's different. Okay, so I'm going to hit R, enter, and I'm going to then give it the angle. So I'm going to say, I want you to measure on this angle. Okay, now it throws it out. I did something wrong. Hold on, I got to redo that. Got to talking too much. So dim linear, we'll grab that guy, and I want it rotated on this angle. Now it's switching. Didn't do that when I was practicing this morning, because I have practices every year. Dang it. How am I going to get this to read right? Oh, I'm going blank. I did something wrong. Okay, I'm going to come back to that one. Let me just walk away from that one. I got lucky on my dims in one. Now it's coming back to haunt me. But anyway, pay attention to those two figures. And I'll go through those again. Yeah. Wait, I think I just maybe misspoke. Yeah. No, okay, I did. I misspoke a little on that. Because it's an auxiliary view. Here's what it's meant for, sorry. I'm going to go to the figure on it. Okay. Sorry. Let me turn that light off so you can see that thing. So I misspoke. So let's just fix my misspeaking did right off the bat. So what it's meant for, if you use a straight line distance like this 90, where it's horizontal, you can use dim align because it's going to rotate to that angle. Now, when you want something that where your endpoints don't match up, if I use dim align, it's going to line from there to there, and it's going to come on this angle, right? So what I use is dim linear, and I can click here and here, gives me the X distance, and I click the rotation angle, and it pulls it back up so it matches with this one. Okay. This one right here, if I clicked here to here, it's going to go horizontal with that, right? Different angle again. So you use dim linear, click there, there, rotate it to this angle, and it pulls it the right angle. Okay. It's based on your object. So let me set this up. So I'm going to draw an object that's rotated. So I've got some type of auxiliary view. Now, I've got a straight line distance. This one's lined up with the object, so I'd use dim align. So let's do that. I'm going to use dim align from there to there, and it's rotated with it, right? Now, I need everything rotated onto that orientation. If I want this dimension right here, I can't use dim align, because if I use dim align, it comes off that way.
Oh, I see.
Now, if I use dim linear, what I'm going to do is measure from here to here, and then I use my rotation angle, and I want it rotated on this angle. Okay? And I snap it in.
So you can't just click on it, you have to go, the
It's
two.
like
Yes.
an offset, you just
Now-
have the angle.
Yeah, and it's measuring that distance, 0.56, but it rotated everything to this orientation. Okay, now again, I'll have the same thing on this guy, because they're not the same height. So now if I want my overall, again, if I use dim align, and I click here and here, notice they're going at a slightly different angle. See that over here? They're not lining up. Okay. So I would use dim linear. I'm going to go from there to there, and then I'm going to rotate it to this angle. And it's still measuring that distance, and it's measuring a straight line distance from there to there, and rotating everything into plane. Sorry, I got confused when I said that. Go through those two figures if there's any issues with them. They're meant for auxiliary views and measuring angled surfaces. Okay. Okay. Dim jog line, I'll leave alone just in the basis. We've been going quite a while, haven't we? Now we got another couple minutes. Let's go to 495, dim angle. Okay, this is meant for an angled surface, so if I had something like this, and I had to locate this guy, I would use dim linear to place this dimension. Now, for some reason, I don't want to locate this one, I want to go with an angle. Okay. Now you would use dim angle. So I'm going to come in and use angular, click here, and it will then spec out that distance, and it will add my arcs and everything wherever I want them. And just as you rotate around, you're going to see you're going to get different angles, because it's basing off of the vertex of the 2 points I clicked. So when I did dim angle, I clicked on this one, it knew that's the vertex, and it's going to let me place this angular dimension. And it reads the angle. We set it to 0 decimal places, that's why it's not giving me a decimal. It also adds the degree. Remember how you folks did this? I think you had it on that piece of angle iron. I said use your circle template. It's doing the same thing. Choosing that for a vertex and drawing those in for you. Fairly straightforward to use. Go ahead and plug a couple out there, see how it works. You might have to draw yourself a little geometry. right, are there any questions on that? All right, folks, if you would, let's take a break, and we're gonna come back and deal with how we dimension, chain, or datum dimensioning. If you would draw a figure with something like this, and then take a 5-10 minute break. And as soon as everybody's back in the room, we'll pick back up.